What's up, YouTube family? This is Elder Stacy Zanders. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about developing an entrepreneurial mindset. But first, let's define the word mindset and apply entrepreneurial to it. In general, mindset is a way of thinking. When we apply the term entrepreneurial to mindset, now we're talking about a particular way of thinking that applies specifically to your work or your successes in your career. I'm going to take 12 mindsets that you have to develop if you want to be an entrepreneur. If you want to be an entrepreneur, you have to have developed these 12 things I'm going to talk to you about today in this video. All right, first let's start with passion. If you're going to be an entrepreneur, if you're looking to go into business, or if you're in business and you find that there are some things that are off, one of the first things that you have to do is develop passion. Passion, you have to have a drive, a desire, an instinct, something that motivates you, moves you, something that you feel strongly about. Whatever it may be in terms of going into business for yourself, whether it's in the humanities or the sciences, or if you're going to be development or into research, whatever it may be. If you're in the service field, whatever it may be, professional fields, you have to have passion. One of the first things you have to do is determine what moves you, what motivates you, what drives you, what makes you want to get up in the morning. The thing that you are passionate about may be the thing that is what you can succeed in if you're talking about going into business for yourself. So first, find out what are you passionate about. The next thing you have to have is determination. You have to be determined. All right, you're going to hit some roadblocks and obstacles. In my 28 years of being in businesses, I was up, I was down, but I was determined to see this thing through, and I was determined to succeed. You can succeed, but you're going to have some wheels, some grit, some drive, and some determination you got to have what people call stick-to-itiveness. You cannot quit. You have to be determined. You have to have a dogged mentality. And you have to charge that passion. You have to run after it, all right? Next thing you're going to have an entrepreneurial mindset is you're going to have courage. You have got to be courageous if you're going to go launch or step out into the deep, launch yourself into the terra firma, or launch yourself out into space, or to whatever it may be. You have to have courage. That's that inner strength, all right? Give an example of that. I remember before I went out into business full time, I had to make a determination. Do I hold on to the job that I have because I went out into the field of business? I was now making in business what I was making on my job, but I was afraid to step out there because I had a false sense of security. I thought my job was giving me a sense of security that it really was not, and I was kind of afraid to step out there. I had to develop courage to step out into the deep to see if I would succeed if I went full-time in business for myself. 28 years later, here I am. You have to have courage if you're going to be an entrepreneur. The next thing you have to have faith or belief. You have to believe. The Bible says that as a man thinketh in his heart, his mind, so is he. If you think you're a loser, guess what? You will be a loser. If you think you're successful, guess what? You'll be successful if you put or implement the tools necessary for you to succeed. You will succeed. But it's going to take that passion, determination, and courage mixed in with your faith so you can walk into the thing that you are looking to have. All right, you have to have faith. Without faith, nothing is going to happen if you don't believe it's going to happen. The mind, we don't understand how powerful our thoughts are. As a man think in his mind, so is he. The Bible even says that he that come to God must first believe that God exists and that God will bless those who diligently seek him. All right. The next thing you have to be able to do to be an entrepreneur is you have to be able to take some risk. You have to be a risk taker. Nothing risk, nothing gain. You're going to have to put some things on the line. if you're going to be an entrepreneur. We take risks, calculated risks. You should not take foolish risks. There's a thin line between faith and foolishness. Some people, when they go into business, they just carte blanche, stop, quit their job, haven't prepared, haven't made any preparations or anything to go into business. I'm going into business full time. That is not a wise thing to do. That's not the risk I'm telling you to take. The risk I'm telling you to take should be calculated risks, or where the losses can be controlled and managed. Calculated risk. When I worked in business. I was working on a job. Then I went into business, but I was making what I was making in business, what I was making on my job. So the risk, the calculated risk I was taking, since I'm making the same amount of money, then I can continue to grow my business, scale my business, because it was a calculated risk. It wasn't a foolish risk that I was taking. But all entrepreneurs take risks and we succeed. A lot of times we fail, but we also find successes in taking those risks. All right, you have to have instinct. You have to have instinct, or that sixth sense or intuition, whatever you want to call it. When it comes to business, you have to know when to shift. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about when I'm talking about instinct. I never forget, back in the early 90s, I had a contract with Woolworth department stores. I don't know if anybody know who Woolworths is. I know I lived in Cincinnati. There was all throughout there. I'll never forget the manager of Woolworth, Paul Peter, said that they had a manager's meeting, and he brought up Walmart was on the rise back at that time. And one of his suggestions was that maybe we need to modify, rebrand our stores so that we can keep up with this new growing enterprise. But he said the board of the leadership of Woolworth said, we've been around for 50 years. We are staple in the community. We're not going anywhere. Guess what? Woolworths is out of business today. Paul Peter's instinct was that we need to make some shifts if we're going to survive. It's sad that the leadership didn't see that. You have to have instinct. In business, you're gonna have to make transitions. You're gonna have to move from one thing to the next. You're gonna have to add and subtract. You have to be instinctive when it comes to be an entrepreneurial, and you'll develop that mentality once you become secure in what you are doing. All right. One of the next things you have to be is discipline. This is a big one. A lot of companies will fall apart if the leadership is not disciplined. I'm talking about you have to be disciplined financially, you have to be disciplined emotionally, you have to be disciplined psychologically, mentally, physiological, all these different forms. When you're talking about being a business, you have to be disciplined. It's also important for you to eat right, diet and exercise, things of that nature to keep your body well tuned, to keep your mind sharp, taking supplements and vitamins, all these forms of discipline if you want to be an entrepreneur, so you can be as effective and as capable and have the mental acuity that you need to be in business the proper way. It is very important to be healthy. You have to have discipline, and that discipline means that you have to learn some patience when I'm talking about that discipline, because you're going to have some ups and downs. You're going to be sometimes close to being bankrupt. There's been a few times when I thought that I was just about out of business if things did not transpire or take place. But I had the mental discipline to hold on, to hang in there, to see through those rough times. We just all went through this COVID experience, and I've survived the COVID experience. Business didn't really taper off that much, lost probably about 35% of revenue, but you have to have the discipline. Some people folded the towel, gave up, but you have to be disciplined in a number of different areas. All right, then you have to be adaptable. All entrepreneurs have to learn to adapt to change in trends, change in times. Customer base you have to learn how to adapt. to where society, where the culture, where the trends in businesses are moving. You can have one large corporation that can change the whole dynamic of how you do business. So you have to be able to adapt, just like we adapt through the 4 seasons. Whether you're for wintertime to springtime, you put your winter clothes up to take out your spring clothes because you're adapting to the change in temperature and the season. You have to also adapt to the change in seasons in business as well. So you have to learn to be adaptable and teachable, coachable, trainable so that you can survive in business. All right. You have to be inspirational. Entrepreneurs have to be able to inspire people that are around them. If you have a team of people working with you, under you, you have employees, staff, you get more out of people with honey than you do throwing sour grapes at them. Some people are domineering leaders, but the inspirational leaders get more done. You have to be able to coach, train, and inspire the people that are around you. And for some people, this is going to take some training to become an inspirational leader. All right, then you have to be able to learn. You're constantly learning. When all entrepreneurs, nobody's in business and they're not keeping up with the change. And the industry that I am, I have to keep up with OSHA and the regulations that goes along with the industry that I'm in. Fire, water, mold, asbestos, lead. All of these dynamics, you're constantly learning, and rules and regulations are constantly changing, and you have to stay on top of it. So it's just like a doctor, so to speak. We're always learning. We're always in certification classes. We're always boosting our skills so that we can teach, train, and equip those that work under us. So you always have to be in a position where you're willing to learn. None of us knows everything. Everybody can learn something from somebody else. You have to be also resilient. You have to have that stick-to-itiveness. You have to be able to outlast the competition, or keep pace with the big dogs. That old saying, if you can't run with the big dogs, then stay on the porch. And you have to be resilient. You have to keep coming back. If you have a setback in business, you have to take that, learn from it, and keep moving forward. I have more failures than I've ever had successes, but the few successes that I've had has gotten me to where I am today because I knew that I had to be resilient. Even there's times when I felt like quitting, wanted to quit, but did not quit because I had to keep going. Be that little red engine that could. I think I can, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. Until you start to say to yourself, I know I can. And then you will know that you're able to do exceeding abundantly above all you can ask or you can think. All right. You have to have vision. Then one of the things you have to have in being an entrepreneur, you have to have a vision. You have to be able to see beyond today. You have to see where you are tomorrow. Look at some of the grocery chains, whether you have Harris Teeter, Kroger, Publix, or take a look at Home Depot or Lowe's. You can see images when some of those places were in their infancy, when they was really small. Home Depot started off as a little hardware store. Look at what they grew into because someone had a vision. Look at Kroger's. It's all over the East Coast, up and down the East Coast, but they started out with a horse and a buggy selling vegetables on the street. Someone had a vision. The Bible says without a vision, the people perish. They run amok, live in a state of frenzy. You have to have a vision. You have to see yourself that large corporation. Even though you are small in your infancy, you have to be thinking corporate-mindedly and not individual sole proprietorship thinking. So you have, if you look at this, you have storefronts. You have storefronts. They're just in a little store doing what they want to do. Then you can graduate to a strip mall mindset to where in a storefront, you open and close when you want to. Whoever owned the property don't care. But then once you get on a strip mall, have a strip mall mindset, now you have to follow certain rules, even though you work independently, individually, but now you're agreeing to be open a certain from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. at night so that the strip mall don't look bad because your facility is closed. You got to kind of working independently, but working together with a bigger group. And then you move into a mall mentality. All right, in that mall mentality, everything is strategic. You have the big box stores, the Macy's, the JCPenney's, the Sears, those stores, and then you have smaller companion stores that are strategically placed around them, even though they're individual, but there's a strategy and how they put those stores inside those malls, so they're all still working independently, but they're all working together. All right, so that mindset or that mentality have to continue to grow. You have to have vision. I think that's about it. I think we've talked about everything that I want to talk about having an entrepreneurial mindset. You have to begin to change the way you think. We had other videos that we talked about, authenticity. Well, that video will be coming out on Monday. Look for that video. We're talking about being authentic in what you do, being authentically you. But if you're going to go into business, you have to develop some of these characteristics, all of these characteristics really, if you want to be successful or want to be a successful business owner or a successful entrepreneur. Remember, there is nobody, absolutely nobody can stop you from becoming what you want to become except you yourself. That drive, that desire, that motivation, it has to come from the inside of you. I know you can do it. I believe you can. Listen, if this video helped you, please don't forget, subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button. I really appreciate if you hit the like button because it helps that algorithm push the content. The more likes you get, and share, and then don't forget to share the video with someone you think that this can help. Someone who may use some of this to help them. Please share it with them. Spread the love. Listen, this is Elder Stacey Sanders. Until the next video, like always, God bless.